Hello, my aviation friends and fans. You probably thought that I have forgotten about you. No, I have not. It's just that I was very busy posting music videos the past 2 weeks. So here we are today with an aviation with an airplane video. I'm going to use this video to answer a very important question posed to me in my inbox. And the question is the following: what is an airplane airspeed indicator? Okay, I'm going to try to answer this question as clear and simple as possible. And that was a question that posed to me by some of you. So first, let us ask ourselves this question: what is airspeed? What is airspeed? Well, airspeed is the speed in knots, nautical miles per hour, or in Mach number, the ratio of true airspeed to the speed of sound of the aircraft, of the airplane flying in the air. So that's what it is. That's the airspeed is the speed in nautical miles per hour of the aircraft flying in the air. However, this airspeed can change at any time in the course of a flight, depending, of course, of other factors such as wind direction and velocity acting on the airplane in flight. Let us say, for example, that an airplane is flying eastbound at a velocity of at a speed of 300 knots, and a wind vector coming from the north at a velocity at a speed of 30 knots. That wind force will definitely cause the nose of the aircraft to go down at a certain angle, which is called drift angle. Okay, now you have two vectors in play. You got the aircraft, the airplane flying eastbound, which is a vector with a velocity of 300 knots, and then you have a vector coming from the north that will push the nose, which is called the drift angle. So you got two vectors So now if you draw a straight line from the head of the airspeed vector velocity, which is the velocity of the airplane, to the head of the wind velocity, then you have a new vector, you have a new line, a new vector that is created from the two heads of the two vectors involved. So that new vector that you have, that will be the new path of the airplane. Because you remember the airplane was pushed a little bit by the wind coming from the north. So now the new line, the new vector that you get from the airplane from the airspeed vector and the wind vector wind vector, this is called the resultant vector according to the Pythagorean theorem. That's the resultant, and you have a right angle. Okay, so that new resultant vector created by the two existing, well, by the two involved vectors. This new vector which is the new path of the airplane. It's called the ground speed of the airplane. The ground speed of the airplane is the velocity of the aircraft in relation to the ground. And I just told you why we have that no vector. Because of that drift angle caused by the wind vector, force on the airplane. So that's the so I just gave you the difference. I just gave you the difference between airspeed of an airplane flying in the air, and I gave you I just gave you the difference between the airspeed of an aircraft flying in the air and the ground speed of the same aircraft. Okay, that's this is something that this is a difference. This is a difference that we need to keep in mind all the time. You have the airspeed of the aircraft, and you have the ground speed. And there's a difference between the two. So now back to your question, what is an airplane airspeed indicator? Well, I'm going to break down my answer into four parts. Indicated airspeed, IAS, calibrated airspeed, CAS, equivalent airspeed, EAS, and true airspeed, TAS. Okay, let's start with indicated airspeed, IAS. Indicated airspeed, IAS, is nothing but the reading of the airspeed indicator dial in the flight compartment of an aircraft. This is the airspeed indicator in the flight compartment of the aircraft. This is where you read the airspeed of the aircraft. There can be at least two errors associated with this instrument. One is the instrument error itself, and position error. So just like I just said, this instrument can have at least two errors: the instrument error and position error. Let me say something. Let me say something about position error. The position error results if the static pressure port is located on the wrong place, in the wrong place on the aircraft. Let me repeat that. A position error can occur if the static pressure port is located in the wrong place on the airplane. So the static pressure port must be positioned at a location where the local air velocity is exactly equal to the free stream where let me repeat that. The static pressure port must be positioned at a location where the local air velocity is exactly equal the free stream velocity of the airplane. And I hope you got that. By local air velocity, we are not talking about the whatever city you are in. That's not what we're talking about. The local air velocity we are talking about is the air surrounding the body of the aircraft. That's the local air velocity we are talking about. That air that surrounds the airplane, that's the local air, and its velocity. Its velocity must equal the free stream velocity of the airplane itself. If the static port on the aircraft is not located at that particular location, then there will be an error on the IAS. The airspeed indicator will show a position error. And the way that the pilot knows there's an error, there's near the instrument, near the indicated near the airspeed indicator, there's a card, a chart. Whenever a position or an instrument or an instrument error occurs, those errors are shown on the card or chart close to the instrument, close to the instrument. So that's airspeed that's indicated airspeed, which is IAS. Now let's go to the next one, which is calibrated airspeed, CAS. Calibrated airspeed is obtained when the necessary corrections have been made to the IAS indicated airspeed. In fast high altitude aircraft, the air entering the pitot tube on the aircraft is subjected to a ram effect. Okay, you know, the pitot tube is located in a position on the aircraft that is where it faces the relative wind, where it faces the relative wind directly. So the relative wind goes directly into the pitot tube, because those two they are in opposite directions. Okay, so you have the pitot tube right here, and the relative wind comes straight into the pitot tube. So the air entering the pitot tube is, like I just said, is subjected to a ram effect, which cause the diaphragm in the pitot tube, in the pitot static system, to deflect, you know, too much, too far. And then when the diaphragm is deflected, when the diaphragm in the pitot static system is deflected too far, it causes the speed indication to be too high, and then there will be false indication in the airspeed indicator in the flight compartment of the aircraft. So what you must know, that there's a diaphragm in the pitot static system that receives, okay, that receives the dynamic pressure through the pitot tube, and that dynamic pressure, which is reaches the diaphragm, which actually it goes to the center of the diaphragm in the static pilot system, and then move that diaphragm. The diaphragm is a very thin, flexible material that can be easily deflected by the air. So, and that diaphragm in the system only measures dynamic pressure. Okay, so if that pressure is not calibrated, you know, it will put that pressure, that dynamic pressure, if it is not calibrated, because of the ram effect, ram air effect, it will deflect the diaphragm too high, and then the indication on the airspeed indication on the airspeed indicator will be too high. So that's why it needs to be that's why there must be calibration by compressibility of the air in order to have an accurate airspeed indication on the airspeed indicator. Okay, that's what the CAS does. Calibrated airspeed in calibrated airspeed indicator. Okay, so both I would say as a rule of thumb for the calibrated airspeed indication, as a rule of thumb, an airplane flying 10,000 feet and 200 knots, okay, must, well, I would say should make should be the pilot flying the aircraft at that particular scenario should make the compressibility correction. Okay, because in order to have an accurate reading on the airspeed indicator in the flight compartment. 10,000 feet and 200 knots. The CAS, calibrated airspeed system, should take place. Okay. There's an important note. There is also an error chart in the case of calibrated airspeed, which is in the case of calibrated airspeed, if there's an error in the calibrated airspeed system, that error will be shown on a chart as well. But this particular I would say situation is good for any aircraft. It's this particular situation scenario is good. I'm talking about the error. Is good for any aircraft, as opposed to the position and instrument error chart and error card that are good for a specific, for different aircraft, specific aircraft, different aircraft. Okay, that was I covered indicated airspeed, IAS. I covered CAS, calibrated airspeed, CS. Now let's move to equivalent airspeed, EAS. Okay, let's see about EAS. Okay, the equivalent airspeed results when the calibrated airspeed CAS has been corrected for compressibility effects. Okay, so one further correction must be made after the CAS correction has been made. One further correction must be made to obtain true airspeed. Okay, after the correction has been made, has been made for the calibrated airspeed with compressibility effects. There is still one more correction that needs to be made, is to know true airspeed. As you may know, the airspeed indicator on the aircraft measures dynamic pressure, and it is calibrated for sea level standard day density. Let me repeat that. The airspeed excuse me. The airspeed indicator in the flight compartment of an aircraft measures dynamic pressure, not static pressure. It measures dynamic pressure and is calibrated for sea level standard air density. So as altitude increases, the air density ratio decreases. So needless to say that at different altitude, there must a correction must be made for I would say for density ratio. That's what I'm trying to say. So of course you got the air density at sea level, okay, and then the aircraft is flying, it's gaining altitude, and that the ratio of air density will decrease with altitude. So a correction must be made for that in order to obtain true airspeed. And I hope that you understand what I just explained to you. Okay, so the true airspeed, which is the last one, last but not least, true airspeed is obtained when the equivalent airspeed EAS has been corrected for density ratio. Okay, so there is a correction factor there is a correction factor involved in doing equivalent airspeed correction for, okay, let me rephrase that. There is a correction factor involved in doing equivalent airspeed, which is EAS correction for decreases in density ratio with increases in altitude. There's a calculation that must be done by the pilot in this situation, that you know, there's some calculation that must be done, and I'm pretty sure the pilots know how to do that. Okay, so that's and there you have it. That's my question. That's my answer in 4 parts to your question: what is an airplane airspeed indicator? I hope I have answered your question, and I am encouraging you to keep sending them to me, and if I can answer them, I will. If I can answer them, I will do so. If I cannot, I will let you know, or I'll do some research in order to help you out. So that's all I have for you for today. And remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel in order for you and me to have that kind of interactions. And also, even though I know you are aviation, you know, you are my aviation's friends, but I know you also watch my music. So keep watching my music videos and my airplane videos, and then we'll keep the fun going. Meanwhile, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.